We are quilting today. So I have this pillow that's been my favorite for a long time. And it's seen me through 3 moves in Brooklyn, a move to New Jersey, and it's seen a lot of things. And that means that it's also seen some food and drink. And unfortunately, this isn't a cover. It's attached, like the stuffing is right in there. And it's a spot clean only. And unfortunately, it's past the spot cleaning phase. So I have decided to make a pillow cover for it. While I was looking on the internet for pillow covers, I realized I wanted to do something quilted. I have a lot of fabric scraps and I thought this would be a good way to use them. And I came across, as I was looking up quilted images, you know, the typical star, or I think there's like a diamond that you kind of start in the middle and build your way out. But then I came across this book. And I loved the feeling of this book and how it kind of was like a similar vibe to this pillow that we have that I really love too. And something more with the white background would really pull in our decor and kind of go with everything. So I kind of studied the pattern and I've done some prep work. So let me show you what I have. And also, just so you know, my sewing has kind of taken up the corner of the living room. I've been working on a dress for my friend's wedding and I was working on it at night. And since Marco doesn't love when I'm in my sewing studio, I've been out here with him. So I'm going to be doing a lot of the sewing out here. But let's go in the sewing studio so I can show you what I've prepped. Okay, so first thing that I did is I measured my pillow and it's 24 inches by 24 inches. So I grabbed some graph paper that I happen to have, and every box is 1 inch. And I want to make sure that I add 1 centimeter on each side for seam allowance. And so I kind of split the pillow in half so I can do this pattern, and then put them together. So from there, I created these pattern pieces. So this is 1 inch tall, this is 2 inches tall. They have 1 centimeter seam allowance. And then for the longer pieces, like this one, I can fold back the centimeter and cut fabric on a fold. So I only needed 2 fabric pieces. Let me show you my fabric. So I bought this plain white cotton, and I'm gonna need a front piece that's gonna be the backing to the quilt, 2 back pieces. I'm gonna have them overlap, so I don't need a full piece. I need 2 like 3/4 pieces. And then the white is also gonna fill in here. So I need some strips for that. But I have plenty of fabric, so I think I'll be okay with that. And then I went through my stash and I found these 3 colors. This is from that gold dress that I fixed in my last video, if you want to check that out. So pretty. So I have this gold color, this green, like forest green color that used to be a sheet that I've been using as a fabric for mock-ups. But I think this is really pretty, and I actually made a dress with it, but if you got like a drop of water on it, it would turn really dark. And I didn't love the silhouette, so I took it apart. So I have that as scrap fabric. And this blue fabric that I honestly have no idea what I use this for, but I thought the three looked so pretty together. So I just need to figure out, I'm going to have them kind of like, I have this into sections. So I have to figure out, like, do I want this to be the blue, gold, green, gold, green, blue, like what combination that I want to put them in. So I'll figure that out, and then I'm going to get to cutting. I decided to first focus on my white fabric. So I cut out the front piece, the two smaller back pieces, and all of the white fabric for the pattern on the front. Having a visual of exactly where the pieces were going was so helpful, and I continuously referenced my diagram. And if you're going to do some kind of quilting like this, I highly recommend having something you can refer back to time and time again. I know I could have just rounded that centimeter to a ½ inch and not use pattern pieces, but I liked having the pattern pieces because I wanted a centimeter because that's what I usually follow on my sewing machine, and I was trying to get these measurements as exact as possible. In the end, the quilt was longer, but I also added a lot to my measurement of my pillow because I would have rather have had it be too big than too small. Okay, that was good. I think I got a good system going, a good rhythm. And I think the colors will go really fast. So let's play with the colors and see which way we like them. I think I've settled on gold, blue, green, kind of like the lighter to darker. So I'm gonna come over here and look at my chart. So I'll do this section gold. This is an overlap. I think I'm gonna do this one blue. That one should be okay for the blue. And then the bottom, green. Oh my gosh, here it is all laid out. I can't believe I made it work out. That's so exciting. This side's a little longer, but I think with the seam allowance, it will come together. I'm going to do this side first, then this side, and then I'll just have 2 columns that I can put together. But I'm really excited about how it's looking. Let's get to sewing. So I organized this in a way where I just laid each piece on top of each other, right sides facing up. So I could just grab the next piece, put it on the previous one, and it kept it very organized. If there were any lines that had 2 colors, I sewed those 2 colors together first before attaching it to the longer piece. I also tried to keep any seam allowances towards the colored side so it wouldn't show through the white side when I pressed it. After I was done, I brought it over to my iron and gave all the seams a good press, again keeping the colored side towards the colored fabric. After the first side was nicely pressed, I moved on to sewing the second side using the same method as the first side. Finished the second side. I love the way it's coming together. There's a lot of blue I didn't realize. And since these are going to be seams, it's going to be like mainly blue with gold and green accents. So I'll just keep that in mind for next time. I'm also realizing because of my design that it's meeting up in the middle. It kind of has to meet up pretty closely between the 2 columns. And I tried to be as precise as possible when cutting and with sewing, but you know how things go awry sometimes. So I'm gonna iron this and I'm gonna try to line up the colors and hope it looks okay. Ooh, I'm scared, but we'll see. Yeah. All right, so it's all pressed, ready to go. And because I didn't do the same size, even to start, it doesn't matter if it matches up because it's not going to. And it's actually like so off center that it's fine. Oh, I'm excited. I think this is going to be really good. So I'm just going to go through and kind of trim off the excess fabric, being kind of careful not to cut too much. Whoa. Okay, I guess I'm rolling on this. Not to cut too much. And yeah, kind of pin it together. I tried to press the seams towards the colored fabric because I didn't want too much of the white showing through, but sometimes you can't really avoid that. So that's fine. Yeah, we're gonna sew this together. How's it look? Ooh, it's looking pretty good. Very cool. Will it cover it? Yes. Oh yeah, that's more than big enough. Okay. So I'm going to press it one more time, get lunch, and then work on the quilting part. Okay, so I have this all pinned up to my back piece. This is a little longer than my back piece, and I realized, well, I decided because there's so much more green than gold up here, like there's that big white spot, I shifted it higher so I could get more gold because I think the green will still be a statement even if I kind of cut up this bottom piece. Since I'm cutting multiple layers, I'm gonna use my walking foot. So the 2 layers, my quilted top and then that layer underneath will stay together and won't shift. And I measured 1 inch for this little extender. I've actually never used this before, so I'm excited to give it a try. Clean up all my little threads here. Just to make sure that when I'm quilting, my lines, like on my placemat, are 1 inch apart. And back over here, Marco's toy collection. I'm gonna start in the middle on the seam and then go out 1 inch. So the middle looks even. So it's not like gonna be even and then this might be a little too close. I wanna start and use this as kind of my guide. So let's start quilting. No. Okay, so my walking foot got a little jammed here. I think I need to use both of my hands to kind of feed it through and keep it even. It seemed to get stuck on some of the seams. I'm pretty happy with this stitch in the middle. So, like you can see it a little bit, but I think that's fine. So I'm gonna unpick this and then try it again. I love how I'm starting in the middle too. So as I go, I'm gonna get better, but my initial stitches are gonna be right front and center. This looks a lot better. And I think when there's like a bunch of stitches, it will really come together. So I'm gonna continue on. No. No. Ooh, this is coming together. Don't look too closely at the stitches. They're definitely not perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna trim the edges and work on the back case now. Okay, now for the back. I cut about, so it's 24 by 19 now. And then I folded it over about an inch twice to make the seam. So I'm gonna top stitch that, and then I'm gonna add my own personal Sandy Sews tag to it. So when you flip it over, you'll know it's a Sandy Sews. The end is near, in a good way. Look at my little label. So this, I'm gonna do French seams. So I did wrong sides together. I'm going to stitch around. I don't need to leave an opening because this is an opening. So I'm going to stitch wrong sides together, trim, go back to right sides together, and then my pillow will be complete. As I started sewing my wrong sides together, I realized that in order to do French seams, I would have to then flip this pillowcase over and sew through 6 layers of fabric. And there's a reason why quilts are bound with bias tape and not French seams, because it's way too thick. So once I realized this, I changed my plan. Luckily, I had tons of fabric. So I cut some bias strips, stitched them together, flattened the seams, grabbed my bias tape maker, and made enough bias tape to fit around my pillow. So I ironed it with the long edges folded in, and then folded that in half to get that middle crease. Okay, so I attached the bias tape on the right side. Now I'm just curling it around and I'm pinning in my seam, seeing if I can catch the other side with it, because I'm going to stitch in the ditch and then catch the other side to completely encase my pillowcase. I love the way this is looking. And then I'll be done. All right, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I started doing the binding and I just rushed through it, didn't even pin it. And I was done and I was like, oh yeah, that's like fine. And I was like, no, it's not, Steph. Like, do the right thing. Take your time, make it look nice, because it's gonna be like that when you're done and it's always gonna bother you. So now I'm doing the opposite of rushing through, and I am actually hand basting the stitches. So when I stitch in the ditch, I know that I'll be catching the other side of the binding. And I went through and I cleaned up some thread. I have to clean that up. And yeah, so once I'm done hand basting, I'm gonna go back, stitch, and then my pillow will be complete. The This is the first time that I've really quilted and done a project like this, and I'm so happy with the way that it came out. There were definitely some challenges, and sometimes I had to pivot when the measurements didn't quite add up. But since I had kind of over measured, I was able to correct as I went, and I'm really happy with the final result. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Sandy Sews. Bye.